Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4 o'clock. The December 21st Nantucket Board of Health meeting is now open. We have a quorum present. And just to remind you all that this meeting is being audio and visually recorded. Are there any comments from the public on any subject that is not on today's agenda?
How do? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Steve Bender, 73 Orange Street. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope all of you have read this 4-page Nantucket Wastewater Management Plan update from the Board of Selectmen, Volume 1, February 2016, in color. Very well written. I want to this is the first of 4 comments I'd like to make towards this comprehensive wastewater management plan update complete. I should have brought copies, but you can all get them at the town. This should be carefully read. It's well done, but it's incomplete. This number 1 comment, which is tonight, I'm going to address towards the first major, apparently, cause of pollution in both Nantucket and Nantucket harbors, which is sewer. Sewer, we're making some inroads there. We'll start with Nantucket. I was very disappointed that the public disapproved of the $40 million Nantucket sewer project. But somewhat after that, I learned that the sludge from the sewer treatment plant was being routinely brought over to the compost. Very many truckloads in the summer, maybe one a day or one a week in the winter, which made the product from the composting plant a very potent source of nitrates. Now, when that plant was first built and discussed, I happened to be around then, and I was at the DEP probably once a week. This is 2001, 2002. And the DEP said at that time, and also all of the consulting engineers, such as Earth Tech and so forth, that the product from the compost plant, we'll call it humus, must always be in a lined landfill cell. Okay. The product from the humus has never been in a lined landfill cell. The DEP mandated that a series of well points be constructed around the landfill and gave the town a list of things that must be analyzed for. And nitrates was not one of them. Okay. In maybe April of this year, I brought this up to the DEP, and they are now testing in these well points for nitrates. And so I gave a sigh. I said, wow, I'm glad the people voted the Nantucket sewer system down, because it was a rush, a $40 million rush, before they actually understood where the main source of nitrate was, whether it was from the septic systems in Nantucket or was it from the landfill. Now, over a period of time, presumably, we will get a good estimate of those numbers. Okay. Now we go to the town sewer. The town is, I think, in the process of spending something like $80 million to sewer the buildings in Shimo and Monomoy, which consist of approximately 300 of the 800 buildings in the harbor watershed. The 500 that are not being sewered are, of course, in the most sensitive area. And by sensitive, I mean glacial till, etc. I'd like to point out at this point that in 2001, I became interested in Title V laws, and I found out that the health department as such at that time had not, for the previous many years, had a town representative at more than 10% of the perk tests. In other words, the town took the readings of the builders, the developers, for the perk tests. Okay. In order to and the town plans, of course, are to, when a septic system is failed in that area, which is not being sewered, the 500 buildings, they're going to mandate that alternative systems be put in. The alternative systems are such that, in ideal conditions, they will eliminate 50% of the nitrates. Okay. The town didn't do two things which are necessary. Number one, they should have hired a geologic consultant firm to map out the area that's not being sewered, such that the town would know where the septic systems, conventional septic systems, are essentially failed when they're installed. Now, there's the conventional formula, or conventional definition of failure, which means the thing is backing up and it's not working as a septic system. This failure I'm talking about is it never operates as a septic system. It's put into very porous sand, pebbles, and stone, which is, Woolwinnet and Pocomo and so forth and so on. And the effluent from the septic system goes directly into the groundwater. There's never time for a bed of I forget the word now. I have to look it up. What is it called? A biomass form under the septic system. It never happens. Goes directly into the watershed. Goes directly into the harbor. Incidentally, as an aside, it was observed in the 80s that the first part of Nantucket Harbor that exhibited a large amount of nitrates was the upper harbor. And this was not on the basis of measurement, but the basis of observation. If you read the reports from the water quality personnel at the town natural resources, she says, and this is also written, a very nice 2 or 3 page colored document, fairly recent, that when the nitrate concentration reaches above a certain point, the eelgrass is compromised, and what you observe is a shift to other species. In the upper harbor, this happened in the 80s. The eelgrass disappeared, and what was growing everywhere was codium. So that observation, of course, now we know that the upper harbor is its nitrate level is such that eelgrass cannot grow.
Right, we're aware of all that.
Okay, so the town has to map the area that they're not going to sewer geologically, so that they have an idea of where there is no percolation time. The effluent from the septic systems goes directly down. And number two, they have to do something like a building moratorium, because the logic doesn't follow. If you put alternative systems on all these buildings, and you have the amount of nitrate, which is probably not the case, and you build 300 or 400 more buildings there, you are at square one. So I maintain that the policy here, the town policy, is flawed.
Well, that policy should, unfortunately, this board doesn't have that kind of authority, but as you know and pointed out, we did pass regulations at this board about alternative design systems if it's new construction, if there's a failure, or if there's a sale of the property. But as far as building, that's something we can't deal with.
Mr. McNabb, I just said that if
Yeah.
you build a new building,
I agree.
and you take 50% of the nitrates away, in the best case scenario, you are back to where you are now.
I don't disagree.
Okay, that's all I want to say. That's number one. I will come back. Number two is the storm drains and
Right.
sewer, so forth, that the town has been quite remiss on. The number three is the fertilizer, and number four, which is not even mentioned in this beautiful brochure, which is a very large input to the harbor, is the recreational vessels. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roberta, you want to comment on any of that, of what we are doing, at least the health department, on those issues?
Yes, and even more than part of the health department, as far as the mapping, the geological mapping goes, the Wannacomet Water Company is in the process of completing a full mapping of the island with the United States Geological Survey. They're compiling data and things, so I don't know when it's going to become available. But once that becomes available, we'll have a 3D model of the aquifer, the soils, things like that. So that's a huge step. That's a great step, and we'll have exact levels of groundwater.
They've been listening to you.
So that's great news. I don't know when that's going to be completed. We might actually like to have Mr. Willett here to just give a quick update on where that stands, maybe in February or March, because I feel like that would be a really good to know, good information to get out. As far as the fertilizer goes, the Nantucket Land Council has just recently put up funding to pay for an entire training program to be filmed and scripted by the Nantucket Community Television, so that we can have that on demand, so that people can get training and do best practices for both gardeners and landscapers. So we have to thank Cormac for that. That was actually going to be in my director's report, but it was brought up. So we're moving forward on the fertilizer parts. And as far as storm runoff goes, you're absolutely right. And the DPW they're working on it. Yeah, and the Land Council has been very helpful with that too. So we are moving forward. We are we are listening to the 4 comments.
Yes,
So we're working on it.
I really appreciate the fact that the town is finally hiring competent people in places where they're important, like health, DEP, so forth.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your concern about the island. You've kept us all on our toes for years.
Take care.
I just wanted to, I understand from Libby today that Rob has expanded the test sites on the
Landfill.
On the landfill. So
Yes.
he's not only maybe enhancing what's being tested, but also the locations.
Correct. Yeah.
Great.
We're moving forward. It's looking great.
Great. Okay, so next item is the minutes for November 17th. Those have been distributed. Does anyone have any comments, additions, corrections, objections? Hearing none, may I have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. The minutes are approved for November 17th. We have an ACO for hydraulic failure
Yep. This is a straightforward hydraulic
in
failure.
Washington Avenue, yeah.
Yep. They're looking to do a Band-Aid repair. All the paperwork has been filled out. We have no objection.
Questions from the board? Do I hear a motion for approval of the ACO for 11 Washington Avenue?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chairman says aye. The ACO is approved.
Okay.
Uh, 10 Marianne, Unit 1, basement apartment, unfit for habitation.
Yes, so we recently were called out on an inspection to this basement apartment. We found people living in an illegal unit. What was the bad part about all of this was not necessarily just the housing conditions, but there is a infestation of rodents, rats to be specific. At this property, it's a pretty dangerous situation when you start looking into the microbiological portions that come with that. So we are asking to take the first step here on this property, first major step where we declare the basement unfit, because there is no way they can retrofit the basement to make it habitable. So if we render it unfit, so if the owner were to re-let the property again, we can issue a full condemnation and then go to court after that. So we're just asking for a vote to declare it unfit.
Any questions for Roberto? You sent
Just the
pictures?
basement, Roberto?
I'm sorry?
Just the basement?
Yes, just the basement.
So with all the rodents and so forth, what about the rest of the house?
The rest of the house wasn't in what we would call an uninhabitable condition. That's a relatively high threshold. Proper maintenance can take care of it. We did order in our order letter to do an integrated pest management program, and they need to provide us with proof of
That's what I was going to ask,
rodent abatement.
that's done.
Yeah, they are in the process of getting that done. He's been in contact with Kathy in our office. We're looking to get the compliance. It's just the basement has to be declared unfit so that he doesn't try to re-let it.
Has it been vacated?
Not yet. He claims to have a 14-day notice to quit, but we don't believe that was properly served. So he's going to have to go through the process through using a constable, whole 9 yards.
So
There's somebody still living there.
yeah, but they shouldn't be living there.
They shouldn't be living there. But unfortunately, the way the whole state law works, we have to give them a specific amount of time. They have to give them a specific amount of time.
Even for an unhealthy situation.
If in the situation that they're in, from what it sounds like, there is 1 or 2 people who have already left, but it is still an unfit location. And they're not. I wouldn't call it an immediate danger, which is why we didn't order an immediate.
Okay.
But it's definitely not.
So you need a
correct.
vote to certify the basement is an unfit for habitation.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? We're voting to declare.
I had one comment.
One comment.
So it's absolutely the right thing to do, but if there are 6 or so people that are occupying that, they have nowhere. I mean, theoretically, probably they don't have any place to go because of the terrible housing. I know that's not our issue, but it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
It's
and
always difficult.
We do about 2 or 3 of the years, and every year we have the same issue that we have to look after public health and the law, but at the same time,
Unfortunately, sometimes
there's nowhere for people to go on this island.
Exactly. Sometimes people tend to leave the island. Unfortunately, it's because we have this severe housing shortage and rent is just really high. It's just it's a difficult balance.
Okay, so we have the vote, the motion on the table to declare this unfit for habitation. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye. The basement is declared unfit for habitation. We have another one, 24 Essex Road, RV, not to be used for human habitation.
This one is not the same boat. It's this one is an RV. They're using it as a living space, a living quarter. The water was supplied by a hose. We don't know what they're doing with the waste. So we issued the order letter. The owner was actually in our office today to say that he has had the people vacate and that they are vacated. But we also need to just declare this to make sure that that's not going to happen again.
And the town needs to figure out what to do about housing.
Roberto,
Yes.
isn't there something on the books about that? No RVs could be used. I remember years ago.
There is a bylaw that RVs and mobile homes aren't to be used as permanent housing and aren't to be used as housing.
Right.
We do have a bylaw about that. So we issued this one under the housing code specifically, mainly because of the human danger element on it.
Okay.
So who's responsible for, identifying RVs or where people are living?
This one was a response to a complaint. Usually, if somebody has an RV or a mobile unit on their property, it's usually a zoning violation.
Okay.
And that then it gets referred to us through our problem properties task force. But in this case, it was a complaint.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to declare the RV unfit for habitation?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. Motion's approved. The Nantucket Road tight tank has been removed from the agenda?
Yes, the engineer on the property has chosen to back out of this project. So as such, the plans aren't approved. So they need to go back and kind of reassess.
Oh, well, we'll see when it comes.
So, yes.
Speaking of tight tanks, variance for 6 Pippin's Way. This we talked about before, and we tabled it because there was no one here to talk about it.
And here I am, Don Bracken, Bracken Engineering. I apologize I couldn't make it to the last meeting. Mark Norris, the owner of the property, is also here. I have to say, in over 30 years of designing septic systems, this is the first time I've ever had to ask for a variance for a tight tank for new construction. I think because it's a very unusual situation where we have town sewer coming in that's scheduled to start in the spring. We have a house under construction that's scheduled to be completed sometime in the spring, late April or early May. So we did design a system that this board approved, a standard system, 1,500-gallon tank, the soil absorption system. What we're asking for, instead of installing that system, is to put in a 4,000-gallon tight tank that will be used for the interim until the property can be hooked up to the town water. Hopefully that's sometime in the summer, so it could be a few months, 6 months, something in that order. The tight tank itself would be utilized as the pump chamber. It is a low-pressure system that's going to require a grinder pump system when the sewer is finally installed. So the tank itself will be reused and modified in order to meet the requirements of the low-pressure system. So we think it's hopefully a win-win. There won't be, for the few months that it's going to be operating, there won't be any discharge into the groundwater, and it's inevitable that it will be tied into the sewer.
What's the maximum time of its use?
It's going to be all set up to tie in even the pipe from the tank to the street where the street connection is going to be. So it's really going to be up to when the sewer is available in the street. And according to the schedule, it's supposed to start sometime in the spring. There's no definite time when they're going to do that. But I do know Pippin's Way is one of the first phases
right.
when they go down Shimmer.
It's going to be done by 2018 is what they said.
That's not true.
That's what they said.
That's-
Gray.
I just talked to him extensively yesterday.
Oh, really?
And that's May of 2019 is the project end deadline, and that will be probably one of the last things to come online there. They haven't built the Monomoy pump station that has to handle it all, so that's 18 months
all right.
away.
I misspoke. I apologize. Yeah.
Well, the research we had done was like we were being led when they first did all this, that they're saying that it's supposed to start in the spring of 2018.
Right.
And then be finished in October of that.
Anyways, you just come down and identify yourself, please.
Mark Norris, owner of 6 Pippin's Way, also 130 Main Street. Been out here for years. But, you know, we would like to hook in as soon as we can, and what we'd like to do is not have to build this system and then have it be abandoned, or if we sell it and the owner decides to wait the grace period that he has once he has the system in, you know, and then it's being used. Rather just, we're putting in a larger tight tank so that, you know, it'll handle the use and there won't be any danger of any overflow or anything like that, and then we'll reuse it as well. So what we'd like to do is, you know, have it be a good system just in place temporary, have the pipe stubbed out already to the road, so as soon as it's ready, we'll hook to it. I mean, that's what we want to do. If it was ready now, we'd do it now.
I have a question. What is the approximate date that the house is going to be completed?
In April. May 1st, we'd like to put it on the market, so we're furnishing it in April. So right now, we're already insulating and through the, you know, that process. So we start blue board in January. So we've got basically 4 months to finish it off and put it on the market. So all the landscaping, hardscaping is done, and so all we're going to do at the end is, we'd like to, Mike Dave, the last meeting was ready, we wanted to dig the tight tent and get it in before the ground froze. And that's what we'd like to do now. As soon as, if we get your approval for this, we'd like to put the tight tank in the ground before it freezes, and that way it's all there, we can grade everything off, and we can have it, you know, surveyed, we know where it is, and then, you know, that's our schedule. That's what we'd like to be able to use. And it's a 4,000, so it's a larger system. It's a larger tank than, you know, normally we would spec for that. So, you know, we want to be able to use it for the ejector pump afterwards as well. So it's also, it serves two purposes.
Other comments?
Yeah. I mean, although I recused myself on the last time,
Yeah, aren't you?
well, we haven't voted on anything yet. So I've
that's
actually sent an email to Roberto to rescind my contract that I had with the owner, which was never signed anyways for the pumping. And I just wanted to make a couple comments. I mean, even that we gave those people in Pippin Way the conventional system for the sake of, because the sewer was coming. Tight tanks shouldn't be for new construction at all. I mean, this could open up a can of worms for down the road. I'm not going to say it's going to set a precedent, but...
Right, and we did put conventional systems on Pippin Way, and you're
otherwise
talking...
you'd have to put the IA in.
Right, but we would have, this could be a year.
It could be, it's more like, to tell you the truth, it's probably going to be more like 2 years. Town council's already told Dave not to issue any sewer permits on the basis that sewer's coming down the road. He's got people calling him every day. So the 500-day construction period doesn't take into account weather, which would set things back, other things they run into. It could potentially be 2.5 years before it's signed off, approved, and online.
And they already have permission to use conventional systems.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have a rule that we said we don't give tight tanks for new construction. We've turned people down in the last 2 meetings for that.
Okay.
The 1,500-gallon tank can be retrofitted or used for the pumps.
For the...
Yeah, right.
Can I just ask a question?
Please.
What is the lead time for after they install the conventional system? How long do they have before they have to, say a new owner buys this, and then they've got the system in? Is it a period of 5 years or is it 10 years?
No,
What is it?
that was the IA
That's
system.
an
It's
IA.
10-year.
If you put in an IA system, but not a conventional.
This is what will happen as soon as the line is approved and ready for use. We, at the board, enforce Regulation 69. So then we're going to send out letters to everybody saying the sewer is online. You have 6 months to abandon your septic and tie to sewer. If you can't do it within that 6-month period, we need a letter from your engineer stating that he's working on it and that, I've got a contractor lined up and he's going to do it as soon as he can.
Correct.
So then there's actually another 6-month period.
That's what I was going
on
to say.
top of
We're
that.
talking about 2.5 years.
Or it could be more.
And your points are well taken. We have turned this down before, and we have done Pippin Way.
We
gave him a break.
A break, yes.
Yeah, we did.
Comments?
Just so that we didn't want everybody installing $60,000 IA systems.
This system that I have going in now, the regular one, is a $60,000 system because of the leaching that's going on there, the water that's around there. So the system that you're asking me, if I don't get the tight tank, it's also a $60,000 system because I've got to bring sand in because of the leaching that's going in there. So it's also a $60,000 system that'll be there.
So you're not saving any money with the tight tank?
The tight tank, I would definitely be, but if we go to a conventional, if you don't allow the tight tank and I put in the other system, it'll be a $60,000 system because I've got to take away and put stuff in there. So it does save money, but I thought it made more sense. So, and we were under the understanding that we might be able to get a variance for it. So
The problem is, we'd have to do it for everyone that walked in the door. And
every situation is unique.
And we just can't do that because we gave them a break out there saying, instead of making them all do an IA system, we said you can put a conventional system in until the sewer comes.
Yeah, the reason that Mr. Norris is bringing up about it being expensive is because he would need to bring in sand. I'm looking at the plan here. They found groundwater at 52 inches, which would automatically fail the system,
Right.
if they were to install it at grade. So that's the consideration here.
So the argument...
We already have some people that are in that subdivision that have installed the same system.
Absolutely. It's just the issue of the design.
Well, yeah, it's because of the modeling. So.
Mhm.
Close to the watershid and all
Well,
that
they
too.
found leaking at 52 inches here.
Be less environmentally impacted if we did the tight tank instead of the other system. Just asking for a special variance.
I don't hear that you have the votes for a variance. So.
Yeah, I mean, you're not for this. I mean, I could
make a motion that we.
I could flip a coin on this one, but go ahead.
I'd make a motion that we turn down the variance request.
Do I hear a second?
I will second it only so they understand that the reason I'm not going to vote for this thing is because we've set a precedent, we gave them a break, and if we let one person, I understand the problem he has, but the next guy can come in with the same problem, and next thing you know, every guy's got a tight tank. And the problem we had was, originally the state said they didn't want tight tanks, so we went down that road and we made that part of our deal that we wouldn't have a tight tank with new construction.
Yeah, I'm all for consistency personally. So.
Helene, I guess you are...
No,
Your
I would
consistency?
go with the majority rule.
The only thing I'd like to add too is I understand about the precedent, but I'm not sure how many more situations are going to come up like this. And even if they did, the precedent would be, it would be the same. It's inevitable that the sewer is going to come into that district. It's not like, yes, the timing could be way off. It could be a few years, but it just seems like a net benefit. And to add to the cost of the systems, there's a lot of unsuitable material that has to come out.
Yeah.
High groundwater amount. So
We got you.
yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to deny 6 Pippin Way's use of tight tank. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of denying, so we're voting to deny the motion, so all in favor of denying the motion, say aye.
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 I will vote against that. So the vote is 4-1. Motion is denied. My favorite subject.
Oh.
22 Hawthorne. Please tell us that it's in
The system is in,
and working.
and a certificate of compliance was issued last week on Friday. However, the litigation is not complete. Town council submitted a stipulation of dismissal for approval to this person's attorney, and he is not agreeing to the dismissal from Barnstable County Court because he believes that the fines we have issued have been in error. He is questioning the legality of the fines and our ability to place conditional approval. I have spoken to town council. Any agreement that the Board of Health were to enter is Board of Health's decision to make conditions of approval. We are allowed to do so. So for the sake of closing this out, I would recommend that we just issue the betterment loan and go with a criminal complaint to district court.
Yes, because we had said
to
we
recover the fines.
We wouldn't issue the loan until we got the
Yeah.
fines, but
Because right now because the betterment loan is being held up, even though we've approved it. I'm trying to measure my words to be safe. In order to be fair to our on-island contractors, I would recommend that we release the betterment loan in order to pay the contractors and then move forward.
so
with
the
pursuing
contractors
the
have not
tickets.
been paid for their work.
Not 100%. Some have paid some have been paid the deposit, things like
Right,
that.
but they haven't-
But they haven't. 100% of the payments haven't been released.
And so this is a couple weeks after the work is done and they have not been paid.
Not 100% correct.
Is it,
Comments from the board?
wasn't the loan based on some of the fines that they had?
Yes, we
Yes.
had requested that they pay their fines
Are they
first. No, they're not. He is contesting the
Well,
fines.
So if we release the betterment, if we sign for the betterment loan,
We can issue a complaint on district court to go after the fines as a separate matter.
And that's the recommendation of town council.
Correct. So that we can.
Is it town council's recommendation, or is it your
It's.
recommendation?
I recommended it to town council. Town council agrees.
Okay,
to issue.
that's different. It's
Yeah.
not town council
Okay.
recommendation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yes.
So
so what are the chances of getting the fines paid?
Very high.
Oh,
Very
okay.
high. We've issued complaints through the clerk magistrate many times, and the clerk magistrate is very agreeable. And
Well, what is the reason that they're not paid now?
the attorney for this property owner claims that we did not issue the fines legally.
Did we?
We did, in our opinion and in town council's opinion.
And it's been settled that they were issued legally?
He's contesting it, so
So it's in court.
we're going to have
court will have to
we're going to
decide.
have to
All right,
decide that
okay.
through court.
So I don't see the need to change our policy, so I'd be interested in hearing why we should, but, so.
And I guess the contractors, I was concerned about the contractors, but they could always go to court too.
Right. And they took on this job knowing what they know, so.
I don't know.
I don't think it's our responsibility to make people whole. But
Okay.
Any other,
How much have the contractors owed?
The project was $42,000.
And how much is the loan for?
$42,000.
Exactly, I
Yeah.
see.
But they've been paid partially,
Uh,
but we don't know
correct.
how much.
We don't know how
Okay,
much.
all right.
We haven't been issued their invoices yet.
Or do you get invoices?
We usually pay the contractor directly for those services that they do. The only times that we would pay the property owner is if they provide us an invoice with the stamp as paid, and then we confirm with the contractor.
Okay.
other comments, Steve?
Well, the thing is,
What?
if we don't do the betterment loan, the work's already done. They're using the system, it's all legal. And the contractors have they'll never get paid.
That's a possibility. That would be
Well,
a
if
civil
they-
matter
if these
between
people
them.
won't pay simple fines,
Yeah.
what makes you think that if we don't give them the betterment loan, the contractors will even get paid? They won't
Yeah,
get paid.
that would be a civil matter between the contractors and the property
Yeah,
owner.
that's not our.
No, it's
Yeah.
not, I understand,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Steve?
I I would like to see the contractors get paid.
Yeah, I would too.
As a
would too.
contractor yourself.
Well, and, I think they went out of their way to
Yes.
make this happen in the time frame that we set forth.
I'm of the opinion I want to see the contractors get paid, because I'm not sure they'll ever get paid. And then they'll have to spend more money to go back to court to get their money.
Yeah. And we can always go after the fines through the district court. It's a process we do all the time.
And what's the guarantee they're going to get paid even if we give the loan?
Because we require it.
That is stipulated.
That is stipulated in the agreement.
So my census of the discussion is, Helene, is the swing vote here.
No, I don't like the idea of giving people money when we know they're suing us. I mean, it's just
Right.
in principle. that's not-
Okay, well, maybe
How do we
change
know,
my...
how do we know that
I
we're going to, the
understand.
betterment loan's going to get paid?
That's attached to the taxes. The betterment loan gets gets assessed on the taxes. So if the taxes don't get paid, we may end up owning the house.
So like
too.
the other one, I've been swinging my mind back and forth on this as I sit here.
So we have a policy that says we don't give a betterment loan until fines are paid.
No, that was the
We voted
vote
last...
we took.
We took that last
We
session.
took that vote in November for this specific
For this-
property.
Okay, well, then why don't we,
Roberta,
we should continue
What's the total
with that.
amount of the fines they owe?
It's only $1,800.
So,
You know what?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do we have the right to take $1,800 out of the betterment loan, pay the fines, and give the rest to the contractors?
Unfortunately, no, we can't. That's a stipulation of the state.
You know what?
It's a good idea.
My opinion is, I'm glad we had the discussion. We made a decision last time, and I think we should keep that decision. And that the issue of,
Okay.
let the courts sort it out.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer. We did what I think is right. Our objective is to maintain the public health,
Right.
and I think we did.
Yeah.
So I don't think we,
So what is it you want?
I don't think we should have to do anything.
Okay.
Unless someone wants to make a motion to contradict what we did last time, but I don't see a consensus that would ever prove, so we can just go on to the next agenda item.
Sounds good.
but I think we've given some direction to the director.
Yes.
Yes, the director
Absolutely.
knows that the betterment loan will not be issued until the fines are paid.
Sounds good.
That was our policy we voted on, and I guess we're going to stick with that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's the board's direction.
Sounds good.
Director's report.
Okay. So actually, I gave part of it with Mr. Bender. And then we were talking about the venison donation program. I spoke with Hank today, and we are up to 16 deer, which is actually pretty good. Last year, I think there were only 9, and the year before that, there were 13 or 12, I believe. So this is actually the highest year so far. We would always like it to be higher, but it is definitely moving forward, and more people have been accepting of it.
Got very good coverage in the paper.
Very good coverage, and Hank has been a major part of that, so we really appreciate Hank's work on that. He's been going out to the tagging stations and meeting with hunters, and it's been really, really helpful. So thank you, Hank. And then the one major issue, not an issue, actually one major news that we've given is that we got a grant from the National Association of City and County Health Officials to work on a performance management plan, which I'd mentioned last month. But one of the parts of that grant that I was recently brought to my attention is actually in January, late January. I've been invited down to Washington, D.C., along with 7 other rural communities in the United States to discuss rural health policy in Washington, D.C. with the Public Health Accreditation Bureau and the Centers for Disease Control and the Department of Health and Human Services to build on this rural health initiative. So it's actually really exciting that Nantucket is going to be one of only 8 towns in the entire United States to be affecting national policy on rural health initiatives. So that's a big
Good.
step. That's a big step here. And we applied for the Bloomberg American Health Initiative. Mr. Michael Bloomberg put up $300 million every year for the next 5 years to help with five specific issues in the Bloomberg the American Health Initiative. So we've applied for that. So we're waiting to hear back. We would be one of only about 5.
What would you do with that money?
A major part of that is it would fund a research project here on the island to pilot programs on it's one of 5, so things like obesity, substance abuse and
Okay.
mental health,
So it's a
environmental
research
health.
project.
So it's a research project specifically. So it would be, if we get approved for that, that would be really big. Once again, pushing us to
And we
the
could
cutting edge of
we could
public health.
see if not having McDonald's correlates with obesity.
Yes, yes, it's a really big one. My intern right now is tweaking the community health assessment to address the concerns of the board discussing obesity and cardiovascular health, and it's a striking difference. We're about 3 or 4%, between 3 and 4% less than the state of Massachusetts, and the state of Massachusetts is considered one of the healthiest states in the United States. So I believe we're about second or third behind Connecticut for sure, and I don't remember what the other one was.
Good.
So it makes Nantucket actually one of the healthiest counties in the entire United States. It's a really exciting time to be here.
Well, it would be healthy if people had a place to live, but
Yes,
so go
sir.
on. I'm sorry.
I was looking at the MGH, or Mass General Hospital clinical trials the other day, and they're looking for volunteers on a number of, like 50 different trials, but some number on some cardiovascular, but also on obesity, looking for volunteers. So I was going to put you in touch with the clinical director to see.
That would be great.
He could come down here and interview a bunch of people, and I don't know, that's just so.
No, that'd be excellent. That'd be great. Thank you. So, and that's really it.
Well, good.
That's it.
Sounds well.
We're moving forward in public health policy.
Questions from the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you want us to take a vote reaffirming or the vote taken in November on Hawthorne Lane?
We don't have to.
Okay.
No.
Just don't know if we need
No,
a safety net.
we didn't.
Okay.
No, we don't have to.
We're not going to change anything.
Yep.
Okay.
I just have
Yeah,
maybe
go
one
ahead, sir.
comment, and Robert and I have talked about it, but the board is putting $2 million for the revolver fund
The
to, adding $2 million to your loan.
yes,
We're putting
sorry.
that article
yes,
in based
sorry.
on the-
Yes, we talked
based
about that.
on-
Yes, I have sent the article language to both Brian Turbett and the town manager, Libby, to be included into this annual town meeting for the $2 million to continue the Betterment Loan Project.
Good.
Yes.
We're looking good, huh?
Anything else? Well, if I hear no objections, we will adjourn the meeting, and we'll see you all in third Thursday in February. January.
January.
I won't be here in February. That's what's on my mind.
I won't be here in January. Mr. Crowley will be
I'm sure Mr. Crowley will do fine.
running it.
boy.
February, it's the February meeting. It's February and March, or one of those months I won't be here, but I'm sure Steve can carry on.
Sounds good.
Maybe Jimmy, where you want.
Yeah.
It's going to be warm.
Yeah.
It's going to be very warm. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.